like to practice some Hebrew calligraphy with me? I thought so. Let's get started. You can use tools you can find all around the house, like a fine tip felt marker. I would recommend one of the thicker, chunkier markers like the flat tip Sharpies or even a highlighter. And I'm also going to be using one of my mild liners, which again has a highlighter shape. And I would also recommend using anything you enjoy: markers, pencil, crayons, jelly rollers, metallics, whatever makes you happy. Also, in my newsletter, I mentioned that this week has a theme of holiness and keeping God's name holy. Well, I personally feel that Eliana Light is sort of the go-to when discussing God's name, so I've printed off a copy of her names and descriptions for God for this project today. So to get started, I'm just going to use pencil. Everything you can, start with pencil. I'm going to draw out a block version of the Hebrew letters that I'm doing today. I've chosen to start with the shoresh, or the three letters that make up a root for our theme or value this week, which is holiness. So the three letters for that are kuf, daled, shin, which can make the word kadosh, kiddush, kadesh, all things holy. So that is the pencil skeleton of what I'm going to do, and now I'm going to add all the details with my finer tools to make this a little more fancy. So I think I'm going to start with one of my mild liners. Like I mentioned earlier, it gives me some thick and thin lines to play with. Right now I'm just going over the pencil, and I'm going to do some non-traditional things. We're used to seeing Hebrew script, but you can add anything that you want. You are not a SOFER, you are not writing a TORAH. You can add zigzags or little swirls, whatever you want. But if we want to do that more traditional style with Hebrew script, you only need two things: a short line or a thin line and a thick line. And really that's it. If you can master that, you've mastered Hebrew calligraphy. So let's start. Little short thin line, a thick long line, and a long thin line. Okay, again. Thin, thick, thin. Same again. Honestly, this is what you need to master that Hebrew calligraphy style. But to really make it pop, we're going to use that fine-tipped pen. This can be felt tip, it can be just a ballpoint pen, but outlining anything you do with a bolder, thicker color really makes everything pop. You can already see the difference here as I'm going over my purple, even if it's a little sketchy. Even if I'm not making my purple perfectly inside of my outline, it still has some beautiful contrast, and it really seems special, or like I put intention into this. And it's worth noting that, the shoresh that kuf, daled, shin stands for, the shoresh of holiness, is about how we make things special. And a lot of what makes something special is the time and effort that you put into it, which is what I'm trying to do right now. We've already come such a long way from those little pencil sketches at the beginning, huh? So there we have it. We have kiddush, kadosh, kuf, daled, shin. And you know what? I don't even have to stop here. The outline is another great step, but we can add something called a shadow. So I could do yellow to contrast the purple, but I think I'm going to do gray. Gray always looks like a good shadow. I got that from DARKSUNLIGHT. So to add a shadow, you have to pick where you think your light is coming from and sort of pick a side you're going to add your shadows on. It's almost like doing half of an outline. So you see how I'm trying to do things on the bottom and right side? Just adds a little extra something. So adding color and different shape, adding outline, adding shadow. Those are just three simple things you can do to make your lettering look beautiful. You know what else you can do, though, is something called scale. So let's just get this space cleared up, because you know what? It's brown paper I have here. So let's have some fun with that. the word I picked, other than kadosh or kuf daled shin, is a pretty good one. I've picked Adon Olam, which for any of my Chanichim, my campers, is a song that we love to sing together at the end of a morning Shabbat service. What you may not have known, though, is that Adon Olam is actually one of God's special names. It means master of the universe. That's a pretty big concept, huh? Okay, back to the actual calligraphy part. So, something that's really useful if you're trying to do a bigger scale is to make sure that you have lines you're drawing in between, like on a lined piece of paper. Any straight edge can help. So what I'm trying to make sure is that my tops and bottoms of letters are lined up. And then with certain letters, I can go below or above the lines I've drawn. And so in case you're curious, the letters I have done so far are Aleph, Daled, Vav, and Nun Sofit, Ayin, Vav, Lamed, and now a Mem Sofit. Okay, now to outline it. So our pencil is just the skeleton, and I'm going to use that thicker Sharpie I showed you at the beginning. So again, the only two things you really need are to know how to do those thin and those thick lines. Practice, get comfortable until you feel ready to actually put your permanent marker to paper. So first of all, don't be afraid to go over lines as many times as you need to get them as thick as you want. If you're trying to do nice straight lines, best advice I was ever given is actually to swing from your elbow. That's another dark sunlight tip for you. I've also been told that if you want to get good at things like calligraphy or drawing or straight lines, it's wonderful to practice in this big scale and then practice getting smaller and smaller. And once you have your outline, you can start to play. Let's add some details, some polka dots. You can add stripes, anything that you think helps make those beautiful letters pop. There's no reason this has to look like it came fresh out of the Torah. This is your own creation. You can do whatever you want with it. So with mine, I'm adding what I hope looks like starbursts. If Adon Olam means master of the universe, then to me, the universe looks like cosmos and nebulas and stars exploding and colliding and coming together. So I'm going to add beautiful little swirls and dots and little sunbursts. And that's it. Hopefully you've found some cool ways to experiment with your Hebrew calligraphy. Hopefully you will take a look at the God Gap list that I gave you in our newsletter this week and make a beautiful creation all your own. Until next time, Lehitraot. Bahim lo achshav